This is the kind of town people still say hello, and they all know your name everywhere you go. So plan on hanging around a while before you go on your way, 'cause there's a whole lot going on in Brewton, Alabama today. Plan on hanging around a while before you go on your way. There's a whole lot going on down here in Brewton today.
Our Town, a program about people and issues of interest to our residents. Hosted by Roger Chapman. Spend some time with us and enjoy Our Town.
Good morning. Welcome to zip code 36426. We're in Brewton, Alabama this morning, and we're proud to be here. We're close to the beautiful Gulf Coast in South Alabama. It's hot and humid. Summertime is here finally. We had an early spring, and it kind of lingered on, but by gosh, it's hot in Brewton. But we're proud to be here, and I want you to sit back, grab a cup of coffee, enjoy the show. This is Our Town. I'm Roger Chapman, and we're going to talk about things that are going on in the city of Brewton, Alabama. And I can't think of anybody better to have on the show with me today than the Chief of Police for the city of Brewton, Chief Monte McGougin. Monte, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. Glad to have you in Brewton.
Glad to be here. It's been about a year, I think, since I've been on your show.
Well, I think so. And
glad to be back.
I remember not too long ago you didn't have any children.
That's right.
Now you've got three?
Yeah, I got 3 boys, and need a minivan to get them around.
All right, anybody got a good minivan, come see Chief at Brewton Police Department. Monte, let me just talk a little bit about you personally before we get started too much with the department. But you're a native of Brewton.
That's
you
right.
Grew up here, went to T.R. Miller.
That's right.
Went to school, where'd you go to, went off to school at Troy?
I went to Troy University.
Right. Majored in?
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice.
Believe that.
Right. What made you want to come back to Brewton and be the police chief?
It was actually it was an unfortunate situation. My dad come down with brain cancer.
Right.
And I was working with Troy Police, and me and my wife was actually very happy there. And when my dad passed away, it left my mother here by herself. And I've always, thought a lot of Brewton and was proud of Brewton. So, when that opportunity come up, she was here by herself. And Tim Halsey, sheriff at that time, gave me an opportunity to come home and start me an investigation with him. And that's sort of what brought me back to the area. But ever since I've been in Brewton, man, it's been real good for me and my family both.
So you actually worked for the Escambia County Sheriff's Department when you first came back?
Yeah, I worked under Tim Halsey, and I worked under Grover Smith. I worked, I was in investigation there as a lieutenant, and then this job come open, and I wanted to, strive to be more, and put in for this job, and was
elected.
Appointed. I'll tell you, it was politics, but no, I got the job, and have been very proud of it. It's been a challenge, but it's also been it's been very rewarding to me. It's been a good job for me and my family.
Well, good. I remember when you came to see me one time.
Oh yeah.
When you were running, you said, "I think I want to be the police chief of Brewton.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you for your support."
That's right.
I think, Monte, I've been a supporter of yours from that day on, and I'm proud to have you here in Brewton. I think you're doing a good job, and of all the different facets of the city of Brewton, I would have to say that the police department is probably the most visible.
Yeah, sure it is, man.
It kind of identifies, a municipality is identified kind of by their police department.
That's right, and it's everybody, including myself. I mean, you see a police, or are you interested in what the police are doing?
Right.
So I think that's what makes it, sort of stay in the limelight. And whether I'm chief or whether whoever's chief, it's going to be that way.
Right.
It's going to be in the limelight, and everything we do is critiqued. And you got to understand that, we don't. If the police is there dealing with you, it's a negative situation.
Right.
People don't call us to say good morning too much.
Sure.
Every once in a while those come in, but it's pretty much a negative situation, and I guess that's why people remember so much. But in the second sense, when somebody's in trouble, who do you want to come?
Right.
You can't wait for them to get there. So it's got its good and bad points.
Well, somebody asked me one time, "What do you do, Roger?" And I said, "Well, I go to work and wait for somebody to call with a problem. Either the diesel fuel is bad, or smells bad, or mineral spirits not clean." And you're kind of the same way. When y'all come to work, I mean, you got a lot of people other than just officers. But when the phone rings, most of the time it's somebody's got a problem.
It's every time.
Every time somebody's got a problem, and they're either mad about it, upset about it, or want you to do something about it immediately. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, right.
But but also, there's a lot of things police do that the citizens don't realize, or either the citizens take for granted. And every night when you lay down to sleep, you don't, here in Brewton, you don't think about something bad happening. Well, that's because there's men and women out there that's riding these streets, and they're watching, and they're dealing with stuff. And the checking the buildings, going by different houses where people's out of town and stuff like that. That all goes into play with keeping this town safe, and people don't even realize we do that.
Right. And you do offer that service for business and residences. If
Yeah,
you're out of town, you call the police department.
Right. If you go out of town, say you're on vacation for a week, you call the police department, and we'll check your house 3 times a day.
Right.
And we do that until you get back, just to make sure that everything at your residence is safe.
Right. And that all comes at a cost. And we talked about the police department. What is of the city budget? I would have to say the police department is probably the biggest piece of that pie.
It is, and the police department's the biggest department, and we're working off of $2.2 million now.
Right. How many people are actually under the police department? Not just officers. You have investigators. You have dispatchers. Other people?
Well, the way we look at it, we have what we call sworn police officers. That's the ones that you see toting guns, and counting myself, there's 28 of us. Mm-hmm. And some days it takes every one of us, and I could use you and a few more. But majority of the time that covers us very good. That's the number I like stat, and also that's the number that a town the size of the city of Brewton usually works with.
28.
Yeah, somewhere in that
Sworn
number.
officers. Yeah.
That's right. And but now you take somebody like me. See, I'm not out answering calls, and then like you say, we have an investigation division, we have a narcotics division, so they're doing their own thing. And then you got your patrol division, and it really goes back. The whole hub of policing is patrol, and you have to have a strong patrol division. And I do at this time got some real good supervisors that that really keep things knocked down for us. And but there's 28 of us, but on the $2.2 million budget, large portion of that goes to salary.
Right.
And but then you have to throw all your equipment in, your vehicles and all that, and to maintain. That many vehicles, it takes a chunk of money, because you always putting gas or tires or oil, or you're always having to do some kind of maintenance on them. And some of our cars are running 175,000, 180,000 miles. Would you get in a car with 180,000 miles and drive 12 hours in it?
Probably not. But the thing about it, if you don't think about it, is when you're driving your own personal car and you park it, it's parked.
Yeah.
When this guy gets out of the car after his shift, somebody else slides in that seat, probably.
No, not anymore.
Does that happen?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
We have an individual car, so
Okay.
the car is assigned to the officer, and he, that's basically his office.
Okay.
He's got. So we're fortunate enough to do that. You don't see a lot of departments anymore that does the hot seating, because after statistics and after so many people's looked into it, that's really not the way to go. And you got to understand, 12 hours in a police car is rough. That's a lot of starting and stopping and acceleration, and I wouldn't buy one if they was for sale.
You're not going to the police surplus sale looking for a car.
No, I'm not.
And you think about it, you said 170,000 miles. I mean, you got tires, you got gas, you got wear and tear on your cars, and that itself is a large expense these days.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is.
And so you got 28 folks. I know you got some specialized vehicles. I know you got like a van. Is it a SWAT van, or what do you call that?
It is. We call ours a special response team.
Special response team.
That's a little more softer word
That's
than
right.
the SWAT word, but it's basically the same thing. And it's an old ambulance,
Right.
is what it is that we've converted over, and we just keep our stuff in it, and it's big enough for our guys to travel, and it's got a nice air conditioner system, so if they have to go somewhere and wait to go in, that they have somewhere to stay. And got different cameras in there that can watch while they're doing their things. But it's we've used that team, on numerous occasions, and I say that 4 or 5 times.
Right.
But when we need them and they step in, it's a situation that myself and you don't really want to go into. Right. But these guys are trained. We're lucky enough to have all the tools. We got through some grants and also got through some help with some people in Brewton. But you don't see them a lot, but whenever they're there, they're very professional and they really know what they do, and they actually impressive, to be honest with you.
And you talk about using that van, that piece of equipment or that equipment in the situation, but every day, I've heard several people comment about your police officers may be the first responder to a medical emergency, maybe a first responder to where an ambulance is coming to pick somebody up. I know I talked to a good friend of mine whose mother-in-law had a problem at home. Mm-hmm. They live fairly close to the hospital, had to call the ambulance. Well, they said Brewton PD got there within 2 minutes.
Right.
And I think, living in a town like Brewton, and having that type of response time is certainly a plus.
Yeah, the way that as chief I design the city of Brewton, we have a unit in every corner. Basically, Brewton is 7 miles from bumper to bumper. And now we've added our jurisdiction, so we work a little bit out. But as far as the city limits, to keep in mind, and you may be like, well, no, that don't happen. Well, it does. We do get backed up on calls sometimes, especially and it's no rhyme or reason. It may be Sunday or it may be Wednesday. It ain't always Friday and Saturday, but. A police officer can be to you, say within 4 or 5 minutes, and that's pretty good whenever you need one to be there. And we do answer all service calls we go to, whether it's fire, ambulance, or anything that comes into us. We send an officer just to make sure that everything's kosher and nothing's needed.
What are I know budgets are always a challenge and funding. But what are some of the challenges of the police department that you see here? Is it personnel? Is it keeping good officers? What are some of the challenges that you see on a day-to-day basis?
The biggest challenge, 90% of my problems will be staff, and the other 10% would be the public. You're always having to deal with staff, and I'm not stating that staff's not good. There's just always something going on that you have to deal with. But making sure everybody's happy, making sure everybody's got what they need, making sure everybody's off, and all that stuff is a big challenge. But small town politics is tough also. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people knows me. For instance, you get a ticket tomorrow, I'm gonna call the chief, see if we can do anything. I have to deal with that a lot. And in today's society, it's not the old police ways. A lot of times I have to tell people no. And it's not that I want to, it's just that I'm not going to go to federal prison, or I'm not going to get, sued for anybody.
Right.
But small time politics is tough, and unfortunately, a lot of times when you're dealing with different stuff like that, it's people just don't understand, and I think a lot of times it goes back to ignorance, and you got to move past that.
Well, nobody wants to get stopped by a policeman. Certainly not in their hometown, but I've been stopped a few times. I don't mind telling you. Officers were real professional and real nice. Handed my license back and said, "Be careful, Mr. Chapman. Have a good evening."
And what we have to understand is, we don't have to write tickets. That's a lot of people have perception where they got to write so many. No, that's not true. But that is our job. Right. We're out there to uphold the law, and whenever you mess up, you're subject to get caught. How many times you mess up driving and you don't get caught? But we have click it or ticket, and that's where the state of Alabama is funding us money to go out and keep the streets and the roads in Brewton safe, or across the state of Alabama. Now, whenever an officer makes contact with you, you pretty much gonna get a ticket, but we put it on Facebook, where we at, what hours we're going to be out working. We put it in the Brewton Standard, where we at, what hours we're going to be working. So put your seatbelts on, during those times, do what you're supposed to do. And that's usually where I have to tell people, no, we can't do anything, because our numbers have to match our money.
Right.
And it all goes down to accounting.
So there is an advantage to being on Facebook. Yeah.
Yes. Go to our Facebook. Everything we're doing is on there. We we printing a lot of stuff. We're telling you where we at, what we're doing, and we're not setting up. We don't do roadblocks and all that stuff where we setting up in the curb trying to catch people. But when you see click it or ticket on there, that means we're gonna have about 5 additional officers out, and they're gonna be working. So don't get mad and don't run up here wanting your ticket taken care of, because it's not gonna happen.
Not even Ed Hines can help you with that, huh?
And no, Ed Hines ain't gonna help you much with it.
What about people like me that have a tendency to drive on the wrong side of the road? That's what that officer stopped me for.
Did he?
He said, "Mr. Chapman, did you know you were driving on the wrong side of the road?" And I said,
You was probably on your cell phone, wouldn't
"No, I just cut the corner up there at Oaks before they had it straightened out."
Oh, I got you.
I just got to cut through that, and he got me up there, and then
Gave you a friendly reminder.
He gave me a friendly reminder and told me I said, "I'm going home. I just live right up the road."
But man, and I have people come in and they sit there and they're fussing, and then I finally asked them. I said, "Well, did you take care of your ticket?" "Well, he didn't write me no ticket."
Right.
Okay, then.
Why are you here?
They just offended, man.
Right.
Grover Smith told me one time. He says you can take a man and put him in jail for 20 years, and when he gets out, he'll come up and he'll shake your hand. He said you can write a man a speeding ticket, and he said he won't speak to you at church or the rest of his life. He said it makes people furious.
That's probably right.
And it's perfect, right?
What's Monte, talk about the department a little bit. What's something you're proud of? What's one thing you're proud of that you guys do a good job with? I know there's a lot of.
Well, first of all, I want to say it's not all me, but Ted Jennings and now Yank Lovelace has both backed the police department. And where the police department has came from in my 8 years from where it was, that is the most I'm proud of. The pay we're at, we're where we want to be with pay, where guys can go home, they can have their vehicle in their house and stuff like that. They're not basically living in poverty.
Right.
The equipment that we have, the presence that we have in the city, and the way neighborhoods has changed from where it was. I ride around and look at different neighborhoods that used to be just total disarray. They're intact now, and that makes me proud. Now, keep in mind, there's still a group of people out there that it is not Monte McGougin friendly.
Right.
But there's a lot of people out there that's not going to come forward that will see me and they'll say, "Chief, I appreciate everything you do for our community. I was the working class that bought this house, and I worked hard to have the things I have, and I appreciate everything you do." And so when I hear that keeps me driving on. But the most thing I'm proud of is where the police department's at, and the thing that this police department's done to clean this city up as far as drugs and just what I call non-productive citizens.
Right. And you talk about changes that take place. Certainly, the school shooting we had earlier this year.
That woke everybody up, didn't it?
It happened a long way from Brewton, Alabama, but it seems to be that those kind of instances are moving closer and closer, and they're becoming more and more, unfortunately, becoming more and more times that happens. And right. I know the city of Brewton and the school has partnered with the police department. Talk a little bit about what we've done school-wise for the children of Brewton and the parents of the children of Brewton in the schools in Brewton since that shooting up north.
Well, of course, when that happened, everybody, I feel like it just woke everybody up. And I knew that I had to do something, so I went to Lynn Smith, and me and him sat down and talked, and we talked about, what all the school, and his thing was that we didn't want to make the city of Brewton think that perception, Right. But at the same time, he and I had enough sense to know that this could happen anywhere. It's not big cities that this happens to. So we come to an agreement, and we put armed police officers in each school, and it works I think it helps the kids. Mm-hmm. I think it helps kids know that, hey, police officers are human. I think it helps kids know that there's a police officer that they can go to if there's a problem. And it started out with Sergeant Hal Parker at the high school. He was the first one we had, and it just went over real well. And he walks the halls, he mingles with the kids, and a lot of stuff has just sort of been padded out. Just the presence of police officers in uniform does a great deal, no matter where you're at. But when the school shooting happened, I went to Lynn Smith, and we decided to put it in the elementary school, which that's Captain Hicks, James Hicks. He's done a phenomenal job there. They love him. And then I put Officer Heath Madison in the middle school, which now Heath Madison also teaches DARE. So he does that side of it, the drug awareness. So it all just goes together, and it has a lot to do with it. But at the same time, it does boil down that if something happens, that there's an officer there that has a radio that can call us, and he's also trained to take care of the situation if an active shooter does come in.
And that took some funding.
It did.
I mean, it took funding.
It did.
I think you said both the city pays part of that and the school.
Yeah,
you can't just put somebody out there for free.
No, ain't nothing free in this old world. But Lynn Smith, he agreed, and he pays half the salary, and so that helps me a lot, because in a way at that particular time I lose officers,
right?
Because I have to place them there, but that is something I feel needed. But keep in mind, it's summertime when the school is out. Those officers come back to the streets, and they work the streets just like any other officer. And then when school starts back, they'll be placed back in the school until 3:30.
And I know one thing I always take note of it, all of our sporting events, especially our high school football games.
Yeah,
I'm proud to see Brewton Police Department out in force, because sometimes we have incidents up there.
Sure you do.
You have people mixing from different schools.
Sure.
You have parking lot issues up there. You have people out there that's not even at the game.
Yeah, just like to hang out.
Just like to hang out and maybe cause some trouble. But
yeah.
So I know that's one thing y'all provide too for the school system. You provide police out of home games as well as away games.
Yes, we send officers to every game. Every game, we sure do.
One thing that Monte, we want to talk about before we close, and it's on a lot of people's mind, is there's been a lot of talk lately, been in the newspaper a little bit about Brewton, the East Brewton Police Department. Maybe the City Council, I think, of East Brewton has recommended that the Brewton PD come over to East Brewton and patrol theirs for a certain fee, and do away, I think, with the East Brewton Police Department. Y'all dispatched for them for years, I think, on weekends and nights. And
that's right.
And now we don't do that anymore, so that's put some additional burden on them. And like the finances and budgets are important. Talk a little bit about that issue from your standpoint. I know we know about everybody probably has an opinion on that, but let's hear something from somebody that kind of knows the facts. Why is that a good thing? Or why do we want to do that, you think?
Well, it's, first of all, I want to make it very clear that Brewton Police Department didn't approach the city of East Brewton asking for this job. The city of East Brewton, obviously, and what I know about it, they obviously looking at, it all goes down to financing.
Right.
And it's a money issue, and I think the police department, costs them money just like the police department for the city of Brewton costs money. And so they approached us for a service that and so the city of Brewton, I guess, started looking into it. It hasn't come in front of our city council and all yet, so I have no idea what how our city council is going to vote. But I do know, just like that the city of East Brewton has approached us and they have voted. And I know a few things, as far as the legal side of it, had to go to the Attorney General and get a few opinions on, is this actually legal? Because this will be the first city to take over another city in Alabama that there's nobody else that does this. Now, as far as me, I guess it's unfortunate that there will be some officers over there that, that if they cut out the police department, they will have to find another job. But, if that's what the city of East Brewton needs, and I can help, and my police department can go over there and help, then I'm happy to do it. Keep in mind, I sat down with an accountant, and we went over some numbers of what it would take for the city of Brewton to do this and not lose money. I mean, of course, we can't go over there and not be paid for it. And we gave them a number, and they went over the number, and they liked the number. That's why they voted yes. So, and that is the city of Brewton being paid, and also we will get their vehicles and their equipment and stuff given to us. And keep in mind, this is only a 3-year contract that we would do this on, and then at the end of each 3-year contract, we would go back over it and review it. Now, the thing is you deal with court systems. So court systems is not anything to do with us. That's totally apples and oranges. So what we'd have to do is if we made an arrest or we wrote a ticket in East Brewton, it would stay in their court system. So East Brewton would still get that money that's generated from law enforcement.
Right.
And then the same thing, if we'd done it on this side, of course, we still use our court system. So that's going to be a little bit, getting used to if it's voted in. But my guys pretty much, once you tell them what to do and they do it one time, then it's not it's not a real big deal. The bigger deal would be politics, getting involved, but if Yank Lovers called me today and said, "Hey, Monte, you need to go over there Monday morning and get started," it's really not a big deal. We're going, we divide it into sectors, and we're going to just add 2 more sectors over there, and we'll work the sectors just like we work here. We respond to all the calls. Investigations going to be over there. Narcotics will be over there. It's really not a big deal. What has to be ironed out is all your politicians and all your lawyers. When they get it all worked out, then I can handle the rest.
Y'all ready to go to work.
Yeah, it ain't.
And that's usually the way it is with most anything too. But you mentioned a little bit about drugs and all that. I know you've been here 8 years. What do you see? What did you see when you first got here versus what you see now? I mean, how are we changing the way we I won't say investigate, but the way we prosecute? What are we out there looking for now compared to what we saw 8 years ago?
We basically hit drugs with a zero tolerance, period. And that's we work real good with Steve Billy at the district attorney's office. We put stuff through him and his guys. They prosecute. We send in people to prison. But the thing we're doing different is we just hitting them in the mouth. I mean, it ain't no more standing on street corners. Like I've told 100 times, when my mother 70 years old, can ride down the road and notice a drug deal, then you got a problem.
Right.
So do we still have drugs? Absolutely. They still here and they're still flowing, but I bet you $100 they do it at a little different rate. It's not going to be right out there in front of everybody. It's not, but like I've always said, the U.S. government can't stop drugs. I don't expect myself to do it right here in this town.
But you do send a message, and I think that's
I send a very big message, and I don't make any bones about it because I'm a firm believer that drugs stems to theft, drugs goes to murder, drugs goes to every crime. You always go back, and there's going to be drugs somewhere involved in it, and there's probably nothing I dislike worse than a drug dealer.
Right.
In my eyes, he's a lazy scum that does not want to work.
Right.
Now, I do have compassion for the drug users because that it's an addiction, and they fight it every day, and it's affected my family. You probably know somebody. It's just like cancer. Mm-hmm. Everybody's been touched by it, and but I despise a drug dealer, and I don't make bones about it. I don't care if his mother comes up here, his father, whoever. I don't make bones about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chief, we're proud to have you in Brewton.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
And I'd like to challenge the community to support the Brewton Police Department,
Please.
Chief McGougin, what he does. When you see an officer out there, give him a handshake, give him a wave, be friendly to him, support what they're doing. They're out there trying to help all of us. Monte, we appreciate the job you're doing. Look forward to having you here for a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time.